No, it's surprising that there's something, there's so many differences that exist now from a community which used to have virtually the same roots, where the differences were indistinguishable.
Absolutely, yeah. There was, in fact, I agree. There was basically, we married into, families married in, and
it was brothers, wasn't it?
Absolutely,
it's
just brothers. And Guru Gobind, the Sikh community has basically come from the practice of Hindu Punjabi families and Sindhi families who were raising their first sons as Sikhs.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's how we have a Sikh community.
Well, it's like characteristics, isn't it? It's those characteristics that were looked for. That who can we see who's brave, tall, strong, and let's build a force to reject this the imposition of foreign rule and the imposition of alien ideas that was being directed at India at that time,
and the religious intolerance that was being aimed at, back then it was aimed at the indigenous communities of India.
Yeah, and religious intolerance is absolutely right, in that you're all too young for pilgrimages yet. That'll come for you guys later, I guess.
I've already been on some.
Okay, but I took a pilgrimage once to Manikarn Gurdwara, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's where Guru Nanak did a lot of his spiritual sadhana.
Oh, right.
And there is an ancient Prachin Shiv Mandir there, and the Gurdwara is built around the Shiv Mandir, and inside the Gurdwara they have images of Mata, Durga, all of these traditional images, and they're actually woven into the same fabric. And so both Hindus and Sikh communities go to Manikarn Gurdwara. It's a phenomenal site.
Yeah,
it is. It's completely the same thing.
You're right, there's so many overlaps. I mean, even Param was saying earlier off air, how Guru Nanak's son, Shijanti was, a renowned yoga practitioner who externally might come across as a Hindu yoga practitioner.
Yeah.
But yoga is yoga, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's one of those things which is not so particularly well known or publicised, and neither within the Hindu community nor the Sikh community.
We've just got a text from Raji. He said Hindu and Sikh are the same religion.
Oh, well, that's
so I guess you can look at it like that, because Sikhism did come from Hinduism.
Absolutely,
and also in the Guru Granth Sahib there's lots of references to Hindu gods.
Yeah.
Which,
absolutely,
not that many people know about.
Yeah, there's actually a line in Japji Sahib. So the Japji Sahib is the morning prayer that Sikhs do, and there's a line which says Gur Isar, Gur Gorak, Barma, Gur Parbati Mai, which means Guru is Isar, the Guru is Gorak, the Guru is Brahma, the Guru is Parvati, Shivji's wife.
Oh,
so the Guru is multifold, is a multifold entity, because the light is one, but the manifestation of light is many forms. Guru Nanak is a manifestation.
Absolutely.
So is Shivji, so is Vishnu. So all these are manifestations of the one. But that's why, it's like the message gets lost. I thought Guru Nanak, I thought the Gurus couldn't be any more clearer by including Bani from mystics and saints from all traditions into the Guru Granth Sahib. I mean, it couldn't have been any clearer. But yet, we're back to kind of square one in many ways.
Because as you were saying before, that Hindus and Sikhs used to marry each other, and it used to be fine. I mean, there are some Gurdwaras now which are refusing to marry Hindus to Sikhs, and I've got a couple of friends who are married to Hindus and Sikhs, and they had to just do a Hindu ceremony, and they couldn't do a Sikh ceremony because the Gurdwaras weren't accepting it.
Yeah, it's strange.
So it is sad. I mean, especially when you think that Guru Nanak conceived of, or the founders of Sikhism conceived of it as like a Hindu A-team.
Yeah,
as it was almost, and that we're here now, and people are fighting and bickering, and there's all these differences and all this, ridiculous politics, which is essentially meaningless.
Right. Yeah, but that's what politicians want. Some politicians want to separate us, so
gives
we're
us
weaker.
Something to keep us busy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's really sad. Like in recent, literally in the last about 1.5 years, the Gurdwaras have locked down. So anything that is classed now as an interfaith marriage, they don't do it. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. Suddenly now, because some political leaders, political Sikh leaders, for their own benefits or whatever, for their own purposes, want this rule to be, implemented. It's I've got a couple of friends, and they were like, the Gurdwaras are like, you can count them on their fingers now, the ones that will do interfaith marriages or interracial marriages.
It's so showing they're intolerant of other religions.
Absolutely.
And a religion which forms their own religion.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's self-defeating.
It's massively self-defeatist. I think it comes down to people are trying to, because in secular society, religion is generally on the decline. So spirituality and religion is on the decline. I've met fundamentalist scientists. This is the most crazy. It's not just religious people.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I met this guy, and it was a friend of a friend, and I said, so we were just talking about just philosophy or whatever, and I said, do you follow any kind of religion? He said, no, I'm a scientist. And I was thinking, that is such a silly statement to make. As if they're mutually spirituality or science is like mutually exclusive.
It's really funny because there's that old story about the Buddha who was a wonderful Veena player. Oh, right. And he grew up with a dear friend of his who was a Veena master. And Buddha went off and did his spiritual tour and practice, and then one day he came back to the same place. And in his heart it occurred to him, he thought, it'd be nice to hear my friend play the Veena. And so he surprised him. He turned up at his house and said, I've come, and they embraced each other, and he said, I'd love to hear you play. And the chap said, oh, no, I've given up. He said, no, music is not for me anymore, and, I want to be spiritually this, spiritually that, and the other. And Buddha thought, okay. So he said to him, well, just for me, could you play this one tune for me? And his friend said, okay, just for you. So he started to play, and Buddha says, no. The strings are too tight. Can you loosen them? So the guy says, no, they're right. And he says, but I'll loosen them anyway. So he loosens them. Then Buddha says, no, they're too loose now. And the message was that if you follow the extremes, either too light or too loose, too tight or too loose, then you lose the capacity to create that harmony. And I think what we're seeing now is extremism coming in all sorts of crazy areas, whereas all of the teachers have said, not too ascetic.
That's right.
Yeah, not too consumptive, not too much bhogi, not too much yogi. Take the middle route for society.
That's right.
Everyone has said this. Even Bruce Lee. It's like his quote. It's like a finger pointing to the moon, right? Don't concentrate on the finger, otherwise you'll miss all that heavenly glory.
Oh, right. That's so good. Yeah, everyone's saying the
dragon quote. Yeah.
I mean, we've just got a text in from Sudhir. He said, when people read religious books, most do not take notice nor understand what they have heard or read, which is what we're saying, that we're not actually reading what we're supposed to read, and instead we're focusing on other things which aren't actually even relevant.
That's
it's a strange thing. We tend to think religious leaders, right, are the ones who know the most about the religious and spiritual side of things, and that they're actually trying to guide us towards that. But sometimes I think you have to question that. It seems more reasonable. They're the ones who are the least spiritual. Yeah. They're the ones who are trapped more than anybody else in their particular dogmas.
Yeah,
and the old example in to do with the Pandits of Varanasi, maybe you've heard of it, that there are Pandits of Varanasi who are incredibly intellectual and they can repeat all the Vedas. But the example is that they're like a kadshi in dal, which is there stirring. It's surrounded by the dal, but it can never taste the beauty of what the dal tastes like. So maybe our spiritual teachers could perhaps take a bit of a pointer from what the populace is saying.
We've had a tweet from Pranav Banort. He said that you have one successful community member and then you have 3 or 4 others behind them trying to bring them down. Which is, so when someone is seen to be doing something good and bringing the community together, there'll be 3 or 4 other people waiting to say, no, that's not how you do it. We don't want you to succeed.
I think that's related to something Param said. It's a sign of the times. The secularism is on the grow, right? And so people are slightly unsure of themselves, and so they want to band together. And often they pull people back.
That's right.
And they might think it's reasonable, but they pull them back out of that fear of, okay, let's stay together, let's band together, and so they hold on tight to the things that to them identify what it means to be them. Which might be completely wrong, but it is out of fear, and I think it's it's probably not maliciously done.
I mean, that relates to the point about interfaith marriages, saying that we don't want to join forces with other religious communities, we just want to keep it our own. But what is our own in the first place?
That's right. I think it's basically it's just like you said, actually, that people become very scared in a secular society, so they basically they lock down on things that were
what they know is comfortable and safe, isn't it? Anything that threatens it, oh my goodness, no. But this just brings me back to my earlier example of the Hare Ram Hare Krishna and new devotees, and it struck me that the reason they go out chanting in public is to break away from this desire and this need to satisfy what other people are imprinting upon them. They will stand in Oxford Street and they'll be there doing their chanting, and everybody's walking around, all the tourists are there, and many of them are thinking, what crazy guys, it's raining and they're wearing sandals and so on. But they don't care, and I think that's a really important part, isn't it?
I think related to that as well, I often find that the people are most secure or most comfortable in their religious, spiritual beliefs are usually the quietest. They often they don't feel the need to say much. They know what's what. and everyone can say whatever they want, do whatever they want, and at the end of the day, they know what's what. You know, it doesn't make a difference.
That's right. Yeah, there's actually a line from Guru Granth Sahib, I think, or maybe it's an ancient line, which is it's a pot that is just got one. If you have a pot and you put one marble in it and you shake it around, the pot's empty, but it makes a lot of noise. but if it was full, he shakes around, it doesn't make any noise. And you find this, that the extreme ends of the it's not just a religious spectrum, it can be like this new atheist science spectrum, and also political leaders, you know, just general political leaders, you know, I'm the best, and they main jo kita sara kuch vadiya kita, and the other guys, you know, you see all the main political parties, everything we've done is like, you know, everything is brilliant, everything that anyone else did is like rubbish. You know, it's not reasonable to expect that when you're managing a country that everything you're doing is right.
Absolutely.
You got to recognise that you're doing mistakes, but it's just part of that conversation.
Actually, just on that note, we've had a wonderful message in from Muddy, I think, from Ilford, who texts and tells us that it's a great programme. Thank you so much. And in future, Muddy, we hope you'll contribute and phone in or text in and actually participate with us as we have reasonable conversations about unreasonable subjects. One thing you were just mentioning a moment ago was about how difficult it is to challenge the majority who subscribe to a particular religion. And it struck me that actually that's always been a historical problem, hasn't it? And we have, in the Christian tradition, there has been a tradition of even excommunication, that you were deemed to be no longer part of the church, and therefore you were doomed to hell and burn for eternity. And similarly with, I think, Islam, the current tradition is also that apostasy is an incredibly strong burden. So has that ever featured? Have you ever had resistance from people?
Yeah, so certainly the Sikh religion is not alien to the concept of excommunication as well either.
That's such a shame.
It's a shame, it's really a shame.
Phenomenal. Well, on that note, I think we have got...
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much, Param, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We've had a great conversation today, and a very reasonable one. Do tune in next Sunday, where we'll be talking about mental health, the Sunday after human rights, and next up is the Punjabi Gurbani show.